So this is the story of how I improved the SoFi app homepage to help users find things in their money app more easily. Hey guys, my name is Gurjinder Singh and I'm a product designer that merges storytelling with human-centered product design to not only captivate and retain users, but also drive business success. So here's a throwback to 2022. I'm using SoFi as my everyday personal finance app. And so one day I open the app and I start searching for my credit score. I always remembered scrolling past it in the app, but this time I wanted to check it out a bit more closely. Turns out when I needed it, I couldn't find it. And I think that's a pretty relatable thing, also very frustrating. The app's homepage had so much content that it was hard to find what I was looking for because everything was randomized and kind of scattered. So that made me wonder, who else is having the same problem? After that, I went online and I found over 30 user reviews talking about this same endless scroll issue. At first, I'm like, okay, maybe SoFi wants users to buy more of their products. So it seems pretty reasonable from a marketing perspective that the app experience is like this. But still, do we really need the endless scroll like TikTok or Twitter inside of a personal finance app? So I decided to ask more people what they expect from their daily mobile banking app. I talked to 4 fintech app users, and here were my 2 biggest takeaways. Number 1, users want to spend as little time as possible in this app. One user said, I come in here for a quick transactional purpose, but I don't come in here to read. Number 2, the endless scrolling is just too much. People appreciate it when financial apps can educate them, but it's too much when it starts feeling like they're bombarding users with a bunch of information. Like all those financial influencers on TikTok who just keep sharing facts one after another, and most of them don't stick with us. So given the fact that this user experience has to fulfill both the user needs and also SoFi's marketing goals, if I wanted to truly solve this problem, I knew I had to balance both sides of the coin. So then I wrote a problem statement as a North Star for this project, and I asked the question, how can we simplify the SoFi app homepage so that it's more useful and relevant for users and still meets marketing goals? To start off, I ran some tests like a heuristic evaluation. What I found was that the app's UI and interactions were good, but it was cluttered with too many topics on a single long scrollable page. So the problem was the organization of these cards, making it hard to distinguish between education, promotions, account information, and so much more. Users have different priorities, so we need to make it feel more personalized to their needs. So I decided to explore some new design options, with improving the information architecture as my primary design goal. I landed on a secondary navigation menu, which would now split into various tabs, filtering for each type of information card that was otherwise being randomly spaced throughout the homepage. I also went from chaos to clarity with the information architecture. So I logged into the app several times looking for what versions of cards were being displayed to me in those sessions. Then I figured out that I had about a whopping 26 different categories of cards appearing on my screen. For example, one could be a snapshot of my stock portfolio, and one could be a loan program advert, all on a single screen. So I went through 4 iterations of a site mapping exercise to simplify this down. Eventually, I combined all the cards down into about 5 or 6 groups, and those would become my clickable tabs in this redesign. So then I created a low fidelity prototype, and here are some of the main solutions I came up with. First, I created a secondary navigation menu inside the app homepage that grouped together the endless scroll of cards into their own categories. And I also completely removed the endless scroll from this page, leaving only the most important account summary data visible to all users. Second, when you open each tab, you're led to a separate dedicated page where only the cards belonging to that category can be seen. Here, the scrolling does remain intact, but it would be much more bite-sized and focused for users. So here was the moment of truth. I had to test my low-fidelity prototype with actual users and to see if I blew it or if I got this design down pat. Turns out, I blew it. I did a first round of user testing with 5 people, and they all found the new design pretty frustrating. So in this usability test, I had them complete 8 different tasks during a live call to see how they'd explore the app naturally. And only 65% of them successfully finished those tasks. That's satisfactory, but I still kind of failed. So as you can see, big red areas in about 5 out of 8 of these tasks. But I didn't give up. I wanted to solve whatever problems that users were having this time. So I sat down and I reviewed all 5 of the calls, and I discovered the following pain points. At first, over half of the people felt frustrated because the new menu for navigation was exhausting for them. So they had to swipe through each tab, which was way more work than they needed, especially because it took so much more effort to reach the top of the screen with their thumbs. And I also realized that they haven't even explored the rest of the app yet. So obviously this was a big issue. I don't want to tire them out already. They just entered the app right now. So I also found out that the way we organized our card titles with the category on top and a small description below it, it was hard for users to quickly identify where they were. So if we were to switch those around, with the description first and the category below it, users can spot the card more easily and stop when they need to. So for the next round of testing, I solved these issues by taking a big step back and iterating the design once again. Number 1, I simplified my new top navigation to just 2 tabs, a summary and an explore tab. Under summary, you would continue to see the quick wins, like account summary information. And under explore, that's where you will access those other items and SoFi products. And for the rest of these categories, I simply turned them into filters for the users to select and personalize what they were seeing at a given time. And for extra measure, I added category markers that clustered the cards belonging to the same category into a single distinguishable group. And lastly, I also flipped the card titles to make it super clear for the user to identify cards and the action to take with them, especially if they're quickly scrolling through the app. So given some hiccups and outliers like task 2, overall, we saw a 23% jump in task completion rate. I can also share that we saw a 14% decrease in the average time spent on completing tasks. So what that means is we made the second iteration a much more efficient app experience for our test users. And here's a little glimpse of the working hi-fi prototype. So if we compare, we can see that in round one, the consensus from users was frustration and even low morale, which made me feel sad that they went through all that. But then in the second round, we saw higher success rates and more positive morale because they actually felt confident this time navigating the app. So before I wrap up, even though this was a hypothetical case study, it doesn't mean it won't work in the real world. In fact, I can predict that if implemented, this redesign should create greater satisfaction for users and lead to a higher retention rate. So, the last thing I'll say is there's no designing without some kind of lesson learned. First, I wish I'd done a real usability test with the live SoFi app in the beginning, because if I had data from that, I could have compared and benchmarked my changes to the design. Next, from a business perspective, I was kind of guessing what goals that SoFi had in mind when they made the app experience like this. So maybe I should have done more research, or maybe even talked to SoFi's design team to get their thoughts on it. But hey, there's always a next time. So that's how I transformed SoFi's app homepage, leaving users not only with a smile on their face, but with the satisfaction of a truly exceptional app experience. And I'm glad to say that I improved the way that they stay on top of their finances, and they might just give SoFi a chance now. So thank you all so much for watching and seeing me present this case study in video format. This is a brand new thing that I'm trying for my portfolio. If you'd like to see more of my work, I'm filming more case studies, but in the meantime, you can head to gurjinderux.com. You can see it on your screen, or you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter at the following handles. So with that, I'll see you all later.